A man runs into a bank, pulls out a gun, and robs the teller. He then turns the gun on the first man standing in the teller's line and asks, "Did you see me rob this bank?" The man stammered, "Yes." Bang! The robber shoots him. He then turns the gun on the married couple next in line, points the gun at the husband, and demands, "Did you see me rob this bank?" The husband quickly responds, "No, but my wife did." A guy is strolling through town when he spots a bar with a sign that reads, "All the beer you can drink for $1. Thinking it's too good to pass up, he heads inside, sits at the bar, hands over $1, and asks for a beer. "Coming right up," says the bartender, who then pulls out a tiny shot glass and fills it halfway. The guy stares in disbelief. "Seriously? What's this?" The bartender grins. "That's all the beer you can drink for $1." While massaging my husband's head, I asked, "Before we got married, who massaged your head?" His answer was very touching. "Before we got married, I never had a headache. The doctors say the neck brace can come off in 3 weeks." One day, little Johnny asks his father, "Dad, why do grown-ups like to exercise in bed?" Wife was cooking dinner when she heard little Johnny ask, so she eavesdrops and listens to what her husband will have to say. Father, "Because it makes grown-ups happy." Johnny, "I want to be happy too." Father, "Then you have to wait until you're a grown-up." Johnny, "But who will exercise with me when I grow up?" Father, "Hopefully when you get married it will be your wife." Johnny, "But Dad, how come our neighbor Sally exercises with you?" Wife rushes out of the kitchen. Ambulance arrives 10 minutes later. Wife, "Hey, sweetheart, don't forget to pick up a loaf of bread on your way home." "Oh, and by the way, your friend, Jessica, says hi." Husband, "Jessica? Who's Jessica?" Wife, "Nobody, just checking if you actually read my messages." Husband, "Ha, joke's on you. I am with Jessica. Figured you saw us already." Wife, "Excuse me? Where are you right now?" Husband, "Outside the bakery." Wife, "Don't move. I'm coming there now." 5 minutes later. Wife, "I'm here. No sign of you or Jessica. Where are you hiding?" Husband, "At the office. Since you're already at the bakery, grab the bread, love." Paul walks into a bar looking a little stressed. He says to the bartender, "Give me 7 shots of your strongest tequila and a beer to chase it." The bartender raises an eyebrow but starts lining up the shots. He pours the beer and turns around to hand it to Paul. All 7 shots are gone. "Whoa," the bartender says, "you really knocked those back fast." Paul wipes his mouth and says, "Well, yeah, you'd drink fast too if you had what I have." The bartender leans in, concerned. "What is it, man? What do you have?" Paul smiles, reaches into his pocket, and says, "About 50 cents. One day, the teacher asked the children in class to give examples of what was not good to put in one's mouth. Little Johnny says, "It is not good to put a lit light bulb in one's mouth." The teacher says, "That is correct, but why?" Little Johnny answers, "I don't know, but my mom always tells my dad, 'Turn off the light before you put it in my mouth.'" A man was hit by a car as he was crossing the road after leaving work for the day. He was taken to hospital with serious injuries. He sent the following texts to his wife. "Honey, I got hit by a car outside of the office. Tina brought me to the hospital. They have been taking tests and doing x-rays. The blow to my head is very strong, may be serious. Also, I have 3 broken ribs, a broken arm, a compound fracture of my left leg, and they may have to amputate the right foot." His wife was extremely concerned and rather anxious after receiving his text messages. "Family safety apps," she replied. "Who is Tina?" An older man sat quietly at a roadside diner, enjoying his meal alone. Suddenly, 3 loud bikers stormed in, each trying to show off. The first one stubbed out his cigarette right into the man's dessert. The second grabbed his glass of milk and poured it onto the floor. The third casually flipped over the man's entire plate, smirking. The elderly gentleman didn't say a word. No anger, no drama. He calmly stood up, left some money on the table, and walked out. The bikers laughed, and one said to the waitress, "Not much of a man, huh?" She glanced out the window and said, "Well, he may not say much, but he just backed his semi over 3 motorcycles." I slide a crisp $50 bill to the cashier and wait. She drops it on the counter, grabs a thick marker, drags the tip across the note, then freezes, eyes wide serious, and says, "Ma'am, I can't take this. It's counterfeit. See the line? It turned dark." Total shock waves through me. I insist it came fresh from the bank. Okay, I dig out a second 50 and pass it her way. She marks that one too. Same result. Now my heart races. 2 fake 50s from the bank? I bite back panicky thoughts and ask one simple question. Wait, are you using a Sharpie? She stops, glances at the pen, gives it a long, hard stare. Yes, ma'am. Y'all, I nearly paid for tacos with 2 legit 50s and got scammed by a permanent marker. An elegant elderly lady was standing by the railing on a cruise ship, firmly holding onto her hat to keep it from flying away in the wind. A nearby gentleman politely said, "Excuse me, ma'am, I don't want to be rude, but did you notice your dress is being blown up by the wind?" She smiled warmly and replied, "Yes, I did, but I need both hands to keep my hat from blowing away." The man gently added, "But ma'am, you should know your backside is fully visible." The lady looked down, then back at him with a playful grin and said, "Well, everything you see down there is well over 80 years old, but this hat is brand new." An elegant elderly lady walked into a shoe store, determined to find the perfect pair. She tried on one, then another, then 10 more. An hour later, she had tried 36 pairs. Finally, she slipped on one and lit up like a Christmas tree. "This is it. This one feels like I'm walking on clouds," she beamed. She turned to the tired but smiling shopkeeper and asked, "How much is this pair?" He chuckled and said, "Nothing. You walked in wearing it." She stared at her foot, gasped, then whispered, "No wonder it felt familiar." Bonus: the swimming mother-in-law. A 55-year-old woman suddenly started swimming every day. Everyone thought she was getting into fitness, but one nosy neighbor finally asked, "Why the sudden love for water?" She sighed and said, "It's not love. It's strategy." Apparently, every time her son and daughter-in-law argue, the wife says, "If your mom and I fall into a river, who will you save first?" So the mom figured, better I learn to swim than risk my poor son drowning trying to save both. The next time they argued, the wife asked again, "So, who would you save?" The husband replied, "Mom knows how to swim. She'll save both of us. I'll just wait on the shore." Sophia had just gotten married, and being a traditional Italian girl, she was still a virgin. That night, she and her new husband were staying at her mother's house. Nervous and unsure, she turned to her mom. Her mother smiled and reassured her, "Don't worry, Sophia. Luca's a good man. Go upstairs. He'll take care of you." So up she went. But the moment she entered the room, Luca took off his shirt and revealed a massive, hairy chest. Sophia gasped, ran straight back downstairs. "Mama, Mama, Luca's got a big, hairy chest." Her mother chuckled. "Don't worry, Sophia. All good men have hairy chests. Go back upstairs. He'll take good care of you." So, up she went again. This time, Luca took off his pants, revealing thick, hairy legs. She didn't hesitate. Back down she ran. "Mama, Mama, Luca took off his pants, and he's got hairy legs too." Her mom nodded. Don't worry. All good men have hairy legs. Luca's a good man. Go upstairs and he'll take good care of you. So up she went again. When she got up there, Luca took off his socks, and on his left foot he was missing 3 toes. When Sophia saw this, she ran downstairs. Mama! Mama! Luca's got 1.5 feet. Stay here and stir the pasta, said her mother. Mama will take very good care of him. Hank, a quiet farmer from Willow Creek, had just loaded up his best dairy cow, Daisy, into the trailer hitched to his old red Massey Ferguson tractor. He was cruising down a back road, just minding his business, when out of nowhere, a big rig came flying through a stop sign and slammed into the side of his tractor. The impact sent Hank flying into a ditch on one side of the road and poor Daisy into the other. Everything went silent, except for the sound of Daisy moaning in pain. Hank could tell she was hurting bad. A state trooper showed up a few minutes later. He walked over to Daisy first, took one look at her, shook his head, pulled out his pistol, and gently ended her suffering. Then the officer crossed the road, gun still in hand, and looked down at Hank. "Sir," he said, "how are you feeling?" Hank blinked, looked at the gun, and replied, "Never been better." One sunny morning, a man came back to the cabin after hours of fishing and decided to take a nap. His wife, enjoying the peace, thought she'd take the boat out. Not to fish, just to relax, float, and read her book in the sunshine. She dropped the anchor a short distance from shore and opened her novel. Enter the Lake Patrol officer. He pulled up beside her boat and said, "Good morning, ma'am. Can I ask what you're doing out here?" "Reading," she said without looking up. He raised an eyebrow. "Well, this area is off limits for fishing." "I'm not fishing. I'm reading." "Yes, but you've got a fishing rod, a tackle box, and bait. You could be fishing at any moment." She looked up calmly and replied, "If that's how we're playing this, then if you don't leave, I'll have to report you for harassment." He blinked. "I haven't even touched you." She smiled. "True, but you could, at any moment." He left. Quickly. Moral of the story: never mess with a woman who reads. Chances are, she also thinks. And let's be real. God may have made man first, but every masterpiece starts with a draft. A guy finds his dog with the neighbor's pet rabbit in its mouth. The rabbit is dead and the guy panics. He takes the dirty, chewed-up rabbit into the house. He gives it a bath, blow-dries its fur, and puts it back into the cage at the neighbor's house, hoping they will think it died of natural causes. A few days later, the neighbor asks the guy, "Did you hear that Fluffy died?" The guy stammers and says, No. What happened?" The neighbor replies, "We found him dead in his cage one day, but the weird thing is that the day after we buried him, someone had dug him up, gave him a bath, and put him back into the cage. And now, weirdest of all, even though he's dead, his little left paw keeps moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth." The guy runs back to his house, digs through the shampoo he used when he washed the rabbit, and his worst fears are confirmed. Right there on the label, "Permanent wave for damaged hair." A few years ago, when I used to travel often for work, I'd usually fly out early Monday mornings and return late Friday nights. My wife, Nora, would sometimes bring the kids along to pick me up from the airport. It was kind of our little tradition. One weekend, I had a short 2-day trip, so I told Nora I'd just drive myself and leave the car at the airport. No big deal. When I got back, it was past midnight and pouring rain. I tiptoed into the house, soaked and exhausted, dreaming of my own bed. I crept into the bedroom, and there they were. My wife, our daughter Lily, 10, and our son Max, 4, all snuggled together like a human burrito. Apparently the thunderstorm had scared them, and I lost my spot. Next morning, I gently explained to the kids that it's okay to sleep with Mom when there's a scary storm, but maybe save room for Dad when I'm coming home, okay? They nodded solemnly like they'd just signed a peace treaty. A few weeks later, I had another short trip. This time, Nora and the kids came to meet me at the arrivals gate, right as the plane landed. The terminal was packed, people everywhere, waiting to welcome their loved ones. As I came out, little Max spotted me and ran full speed, yelling loud enough to wake up the entire airport. "Daddy! Guess what? Nobody slept with Mommy while you were gone this time!" Instant silence. People froze, heads turned, eyes widened. Some gasped. One guy dropped his coffee. And there I was, standing in the middle of Newark International, trying to explain to 100 strangers that yes, I do trust my wife, and no, my marriage isn't falling apart. Thanks, Max. Never a dull moment. There was a bar in town known not just for its drinks, but for a $1,000 challenge they'd had going for years. The rules were simple. The bartender would take a fresh lemon, squeeze every drop of juice into a glass, and hand the flattened peel to the challenger. If anyone could squeeze even one more drop from the dry lemon, they'd walk away with a cool $1,000. Many tried. Bodybuilders, farmhands, iron workers. No one ever won. Then one day, a tiny, frail-looking man in oversized glasses and a wrinkled dress shirt walked in. He looked more like someone who got winded tying his shoes than a record-breaking lemon crusher. He adjusted his glasses and said softly, "I'd like to try the lemon challenge." The bar erupted in laughter. But the bartender, always a sport, shrugged and handed him the squeezed lemon. The little man held it gently, then clenched his hand around it. And to everyone's shock, 6 more drops fell into the glass. The crowd went silent, then wild. The bartender paid him the $1,000 and stared in disbelief. "Sir," he asked, "that was incredible. What do you do for a living?" The man smiled and said, "I work in tax collection. I'm trained to find money where nobody else can." A little old lady is walking down the street dragging 2 large plastic garbage bags behind her. One of the bags rips, and every once in a while a $20 bill falls out onto the sidewalk. Noticing this, a policeman stops her and says, "Ma'am, there are $20 bills falling out of your bag." "Oh, really? Darn," says the little old lady. "I'd better go back and see if I can find them. Thanks for telling me." "Well, now, not so fast," says the cop. "How did you get all that money?" "You didn't steal it, did you?" "Oh, no," says the little old lady. "You see, my backyard is right next to the football stadium parking lot. On game days, a lot of fans come and pee through the fence into my flower garden. So, I stand behind the fence with my hedge clippers. Each time some guy sticks his thing through the fence, I say, $20 or off it comes." "Well, that seems only fair," laughs the cop. "Okay, good luck. Oh, by the way, what's in the other bag?" "Well, you know," says the little old lady, "not everybody pays."